Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Podcast with your host, Jeff Lopes. Jeff has over 2 decades experience as a serial entrepreneur, building brands like Kimura from his home basement to a multi-million-dollar global brand that has sold over 250,000 pairs of boxing gloves. Jeff's here to educate, guide, and drive you on the process of bringing your ideas and dreams to reality with the inspiring stories from some of the top business minds.
Welcome to episode 166 of the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today the one and only Detroit D.U.S.T. Dale Brown. Great conversation, tons of fun, tons of value. Sit back, everyone, and enjoy. We are live. Ready to go?
Ready to go.
We're live on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Lopes. Super excited to have on today Dale Brown, Detroit D.U.S.T. What is up, brother?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
This is going to be a fun conversation.
Absolutely.
You have this blown up all over social media. You're getting quite a following. Your videos are just getting tons of hits, and this persona, this personality is coming out. I love everything you're doing. I saw the video. I'm assuming that was your daughter with your outfit the other day. I got 2 kids. I absolutely love that. Let's just go quickly into you growing up. We had talked a little bit prior. Your mom had a military background, shooting, all that stuff. Let's just talk about you as a kid a bit, and then just kind of bring you into how you got into the military or into the policing, law enforcement background.
Okay, great. First of all, never got into policing or law enforcement background.
Interesting. Okay. All self-defense.
All survival.
Survival.
Private sector outside of when I was in the military.
Okay, so, very cool.
All private sector.
Very cool.
All centered on protection of people and keeping people alive and safe.
Love it. So let's talk about Dale growing up.
Yes. So when as a kid, I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and University of Michigan is where in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So It's a college town, big college town.
Yeah.
And as a kid, we were actually at Eastern Michigan University, where my mother was doing her undergrad before she went to medical school. And while she was there, she was in the National Guard, and we went shooting all the time on the weekends. And when we weren't there, shooting in Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is right next to Ann Arbor, as kids. We then went to our cottage in Wheatley, Canada, right on the beach. My grandmother had a great beachfront property. I grew up on the Canadian coast. Went there on the weekends. I didn't know it was for babysitting. We just thought it was for their grandmother. So my mom could have some adult time, I'm sure, go do adult things on the weekend. So we had a great childhood growing up. My little sister's a doctor now. And my mother is a retired physician. And my great-grandmother and great-grandfather were the first African-American owners of a private hospital here in Detroit, Michigan. And my grandfather was a doctor as well. And we come from a military family. So my grandfather was in the military. My mother was in the military. My little sister was stationed in Iraq for a period of time as a physician. And I was also in the military. So we come from a long-standing military family. And most importantly, we're a family that focuses on helping people.
I love that. So it's just you and the only siblings are you and your sister?
Yes.
Was there any pressure for you to get into the medical field?
Maybe early on, and when they thought I might get good grades in school, but since I did not get good grades, no.
So what age did you join the military?
I was 20, so I was a little older.
And how long were you active?
3 years, and I was an airborne paratrooper. So I jumped out of airplanes and helicopters. So I got a chance to push myself to a higher level personally, because I'm not a daredevil and I'm scared of heights. So for me to jump out of anything or do anything that's height related was a challenge. So it was a great experience in that I had to believe in myself and overcome the fear of death in order to do this. And it was a great experience. So that's what changed me personally to a person who can face fear and face extreme violence and extreme conditions because I grew up in a very comfortable, a very relaxed and collegiate environment. My father was a history teacher, taught government and history, and he got his master's from Eastern Michigan, became a high school teacher. So I grew up in an environment where education was vital, and it's something I was completely not interested in.
So did you ever, like, obviously you have entrepreneurial juices in you. When did you kind of realize you had that entrepreneurial juices, kind of the pursuing your own?
I think initially it actually happened when I was in the Army.
Yeah.
I was selling ramen noodles for $1 a pack.
How much were you buying them for?
$1 for 4, I think. And I was paying, I would sell the sauce separately from the actual ramen noodles. For an additional $1, I'd cut out the sauce from there, and I would sell it separately for another $1.
That's what you call hustling to the max. I love it. So as somebody that's myself that is absolutely hates heights, how did you get that breakthrough? Like when you're signing up, when they said, okay, this is the opportunity, paratroop, what decided you? I'm sure there's other routes you could have went. What pushed you towards that? Well, that's it's just crazy that if you're obviously like myself, I wouldn't even question even trying that, right?
Yeah. So I it's so funny because I was in JROTC. I went to high school in West Germany, where my mother was stationed in a military base in Ansbach, West Germany. And that's where I graduated from high school, barely. And as I barely graduated, in my family, you don't get money unless you go to college. So as my opportunities became less and less, the military became more and more an option.
Yeah.
I was able to find the military as a last option before poverty. And what's funny is what made me choose it was really interesting. I never thought I would do it. First of all, I used to make fun of the whole concept.
Yeah.
I was in high school in West Germany, and this Lieutenant Colonel Poteet, which was in charge of he was in charge of junior ROTC, and he hated me. This guy hated me. He just was livid. And one of the reasons was because my mother was a captain in the Army. She was an officer, and I had officer privileges. And he was an NCO military. And he didn't think that I deserved to live this kind of life as an officer's child in high school with a car. I was the only kid in my school with a car. So imagine being the only kid in your school that has a car. Yeah. So, he hated the concept that I was the president of the senior class. He just really did not like me. And he showed me a picture one day, and it was him. He looked like a skinhead, very big skinhead. Yeah. He showed me this picture. He was in his 20s. And I looked at him now. He's an old man when I saw him in Germany. And he just showed his picture. He goes, "What's this? You know what this is, Brown?" I looked at it. I said, "A skinhead with no neck." That the skinhead with no neck? He was like, "No, Brown, that's me. An airborne paratrooper. Some of you will never be." I was like, "So let me get this straight. You think I'm going to jump out of a perfectly good working aircraft? Why would anyone do that? It's the stupidest thing ever." That's why I'll never be that, because I'm not that stupid. He was like, "Brown, get out right now." So that was into my JROTC career immediately. And I remember thinking, that's stupid. I'm never joining the military anyway. So as my opportunities were reduced at age 20, I found that, you know what? Let me show that jackass that I can do this. And it's weird because I didn't respect the guy, but it's funny how someone can say something to you in high school.
It's those trigger points, right? Those trigger points in life that alter the course, which is crazy because everybody goes through them. Some people never realize they even had them, right?
Yes, I was like, that's not even a thought process for me. Also, I get in there, and opportunities have been reduced by my lack of educational interest. I'm what's called educationally abortive. I started going to junior college, but I wasn't there for studying. I was there because it was something to do.
Yeah.
So apparently that doesn't last forever. You can't just hang out at junior college. So, and the military is an option. So when I got there, and I had options, I could be a mechanic, you're talking about the options you can choose. Right? It said light wheel mechanic, or you can be some kind of communication specialist. So me being a non-prudent thinker that I am, I was like, why would someone want to know how to fix cars? Why would someone want to know how to set up communication lines, like power line, like actual, working for the phone company?
Yeah.
Who would want to do that? Right.
All viable careers.
Right. Airborne is not, and I chose Airborne Rigger, which is a unit where you pack chutes, you actually pack parachutes for all kinds of equipment. So, and personnel. So one of the things you do is it's called LAPES, low altitude parachute extraction systems. So that's the aircraft comes down, drogue chute comes out, pulls the tank out, pulls the cannons out of the aircraft. And that's what we do as a part of our MOS, part of our job. And of course, you got pack parachutes for the actual paratroopers as well. And so that's what I did in the military was I was an airborne rigger. So I chose a job you could not actually use in the civilian world whatsoever. So when I got out, there was absolutely nothing I learned in the military that could help me in the civilian world have a job.
After 3 years, did you ever think of staying?
No, I didn't like it. You have to be a certain personality type. You can't be, the military is not for being creative. It's not a place for creativity. You need to be less creative.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
So go. When you got out, where was your next adventure?
Yeah, I was a private investigator, and
PI.
Yep. And so the whole time, what I did was I was training in martial arts no matter where I went. So constantly training in martial arts. I've been training. I started training in martial arts when I was about 10 years old.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. What form of martial arts did you start training at?
Taekwondo was my first, and it was Chung Du Kwan they taught there, and Mu Du Kwan.
Okay.
And that was in Ann Arbor.
And what was your next venture into martial arts?
You know what? I just started studying different ones. I started going to judo class or wherever I could go. And what I found is that I wasn't interested in the esoterics of the martial art. I really just was not interested. I wasn't interested in the background of those martial arts. I wasn't interested in the origins. I was interested in safety and being able to protect myself if need be. So that's what I cared about only.
Which is fine, which is totally fine, right? I mean, you get a lot of people that are very into the traditional aspect of it. I mean, you talk about like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or something, they're very into the traditional aspect of it. But I mean, now, obviously, in the last 15, 20 years with mixed martial arts and everything, it's just a combination of learning as many skills as you possibly can, right? Yeah,
I mean, I probably would have joined MMA if it existed back then when I was a kid. That's what I would have been way more interested in that.
Yeah.
But I liked, from one aspect, I liked the esoterics socially, right? But not actually. So the real reason I went to school was not to learn more about Korean culture or Japanese culture or Chinese culture. It was about learning things that I could actually practically use in real life. Yeah. That was the reason I came there. And not that I didn't like to learn also about separately Japanese culture, Korean culture, and Chinese culture. I did. I just didn't. That's not why I went to the school, though.
Yeah.
And if you go to the school, you're going to learn how to count in their language. You're going to learn to use their words. You're going to learn about their culture, mannerisms. Yeah. And with that, that is what separated me psychologically from those types of training. I didn't want to learn those things, not in that format. If I wanted to do that research, that's separate, right, from the actual physical training. And what I wanted to know is what I teach now, what I created. What I wanted to learn and what I needed to know then, which is what everyone needs to know, whether you live in Canada or the United States or Mexico, wherever you are in the world, you need to know psychology, how human behavior affects your life, you personally, and those you come in contact with. And then you also need to understand.
You're visually gone, Dale. There, you're back. Go. Sorry. Continue. We'll edit this up.
So the edit this part out.
No. You're good.
What was that?
No. So as you were saying about visually, like you said, when it comes to the separating the cultural aspect from the actual martial art.
Yeah. So for me, I wanted to learn martial arts for safety, not for, the enjoyment of other cultures. And not that I disrespect those other cultures or anything, or did not respect them. I do respect them, but not in that way.
Yeah.
When I went to wrestling, I started wrestling at like age 8. So I was wrestling in a American style wrestling, freestyle wrestling.
Yeah.
And I got put out of the class at 8 years old. I was put out of off the team. It was a city team.
Why did that happen?
Because I was choking the other kids without putting an arm inside the choke. And I refused to put an arm inside the choke. And so no matter what, I could not make my brain get away from the other kid's throat and go to the arm and put it in there. And you have to do that,
Yeah.
The naked choke, right?
Yeah.
And for me, as an adult, I've probably choked over 100 people into submission, only in streets. I've never actually choked someone in a competition a day in my life. So while protecting people and protecting myself in Detroit, I've had to choke over 100 adults for sure. And no youth. We don't choke adult youths ever. Youths are better than that. Yeah.
So that's transition. So what age did you get into, like I said, the private security firm? Like when you're from the PI, how did that transition into what you're doing now? Because that's a big difference from PI, sitting in a car with a camera. And I'm assuming you probably had spousal cheating. Like you had the PI. I understand the PI world because I had quite a few friends in that world for a while. Yeah. My background is I actually took law enforcement at Humber College here. I'm missing 3 credits to graduate. My dad always wanted me to be a police officer. And my 2 closest friends, Julian Elliott is a sergeant up in York region here. And my other close friend is a sergeant up in Peel region. So I grew up with a lot of officers around me, right? So even though I've been an entrepreneur for 26 years, so I understand the field quite a bit. So what got you from PI? And I actually did loss prevention while I was in high school at a place called Zellers here. I did loss prevention, which is so, man, for the minimum wage we're getting back then, the things we did, oh God, stories. But what got you that transition from the PI to what you're doing now?
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 5-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
So I didn't like being a private investigator. I was a bounty hunter as well, and I didn't like it. I was doing security, security, bounty hunter. So I didn't like it because what I was hunting was not El Chapo. There was no terrorists. There was no. They were literally people living in trailer parks with drug problems. Yeah. And I said, I don't want to be a part of anyone's negative existence. They're already having a bad life. They're poor people. They need help. They're using drugs because they usually have psychological problems, or they've had such trauma in their life that they've now got legal problems. And I don't want to be a part of their legal problems. I don't want to see them go to jail. I don't want to capture Cage and possibly kill them just because they're making bad decisions, that they're poor people, they're on drugs, they're having problems. I don't want to be the bearer of more bad news for any person.
Yeah.
So that's what made me stop doing that, including as a private investigator. What I was doing was bringing people horrible news. So on television, the private investigator brings pictures and they're like, oh, thank you, private investigator, for this great information. I watched Magnum PI when I was growing up. He never had like this experience. I thought I was going to get a Ferrari and I was going to ride around Hawaii, and then I was going to like be, living the life, give out pictures, and this is great.
No,
that is not what happened.
No, I don't. Well, my PI buddies were driving back then an all dark gray or a black Topaz undiscreet car. You're seeing the car, eating out of the car for 7 to 12 hours, hoping to take a picture.
I was once in a car for 21 hours with no air conditioning.
Yeah, that's the reality of it.
It was 102 degrees. And I had to sit there with my head looking straight ahead.
Yeah.
And back then we didn't have internet. So you have to literally look straight ahead. There's no can't look at your phone, can't play games.
No.
There's nothing. You literally look straight ahead for 21 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yes, because of the assignment, right? I'm doing surveillance. So after that, I realized I don't like that life for sure.
Yeah.
That's not for me. And being quiet for 21 hours, not talking, is also difficult. So that was, for me, that would be horrific. It was like torture.
A quick question. Through this whole process, were you working independently as an entrepreneur, or were you working for a company?
I did both. Security
both. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked for attorneys that were looking for information in different, situations with their clients.
Yeah, I'm sure insurance companies as well. I'm assuming.
Yeah, I didn't work for insurance companies,
okay.
But most do. I worked for actual lawyers, and I worked for bail bondsmen.
Yeah,
bounty hunting, and so I never got far enough into the networking to get into insurance companies.
Okay.
And I'm glad, because it is the worst for me. It is the worst kind of position because, number one, I like to interact with people. I like to help people. And not only when you're on surveillance, you're not interacting, but you're also about to do something that's not really helpful normally.
No.
So, I mean, in some cases, you're going after a bad guy. You're going to put a bad guy in prison. That's great. But quite often it's not that.
No.
Investigation, it's almost never that. It's, something where it's a technicality where someone's about to lose their freedom or their lifestyle, getting a divorce or something, all because you brought information that is horrible. Yeah, and now they're crying and they're upset, and you brought that to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a part of that, man. I was like, you know what? I can't do this with my life. So I came to Detroit, where my family's from. My family originally from Detroit. My mother, she grew up in Detroit. My grandfather owned a hospital. So my mother, lived in Detroit and lived in really luxurious situations. So, I have a lot of family in Detroit, a lot of history in Detroit from my family starting the first privately owned African-American hospital. And a lot of the doctors there used to work for my family. And a lot of those older medical families in Detroit are the families we protect now in the upscale communities we work in. So we protect communities that are extremely wealthy and extremely poor. But the majority of them are the wealthy clients now, wealthy communities now. So homeowners associations hire my company to protect their communities 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the doctors that we're protecting are the same doctors used to work for my grandparents. It's amazing.
It's crazy how the world works. So when did you start that company?
So I started, first of all, in 1994, 95, I started wanting to protect people with training. I thought Detroit is a place where families need help. They need protection. They need self-defense training. And what I learned from being a private investigator was that we don't know the law. So we're going to touch people. We'll put our hands on people. We're going to say things to people, but no one taught us legally the ramifications of action and inaction in any situation. Yeah. We don't know what intent and actions are as it relates to law. We don't know what threats are, what constitutes a threat. We don't know what to do and what not to do legally based on level of threat. What someone touches me, what should I do and what should I say? There's no system for that. So I thought, wouldn't it be great if you could take a class, if you could sign up for a school that teaches you how to legally defend yourself by knowing the law before you touch anyone, before you do anything to anyone, before you say anything to anyone. What if you knew the law with your training? And then you could avoid horrible things from happening to people. And I saw people that made mistakes. They said, oh, he did this, or she did that, or he did that. And then I did this, and now I got to go to jail. Yeah, they had to go to jail because they didn't know the legal process that they would have to follow for that to be considered self-defense. So what if you knew that already as a regular person, which of course we should all know. When you live in Canada, Mexico, Detroit, United States, doesn't matter where you live. You need to know the law. Yeah. And none of us do. Like I went to all these different schools. So one of my instructors was a SWAT team commander the instructor was he taught Kyokushinkai, which is my favorite, one of my personal favorites. And that's probably because I really like the instructor. Yeah. He really lived the way. He was a really positive guy, very professional. but he was a SWAT team leader, and we never discussed the law. In the years I knew him, we never discussed the law. So you're going through strikes, elbows, kicks, and you're sparring and all this with no law training.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, wouldn't it be great if there was a school that taught law with your tactics, so you could legally defend yourself and your family, your business, right, your community. And then I thought I had to go to different schools. I had to go to your instructor for takedowns, for judo. Kyokushin taught some, but and then I'm doing a lot of kicks from Taekwondo and the wrestling. I go to wrestling. I got stick fighting from stick fighting instructors. I got a knife tactics from people who are in knife systems. And then I got guns. I got pistol trainers, shotgun, rifle training, all these different trainings, both, privately and in the military. And what I did was I said, well, why are we learning all these things in separate places when we have to use them ourselves all at the same time?
Yeah.
Right. So now legally, how do I apply the use of my baton, my knife, my pistol, my shotgun, my rifle? What would be the legal circumstances by which I would use these weapons? But I have them, so shouldn't I know how to legally use them?
Yeah.
And there are different ranges of weapons, right? So when would I transition to these different weapons from this other weapon? And why is there no school to teach them? Because every school I went to was like, oh, this is the best. If you have a stick, it's all you need. Oh, if you have a knife,
of course. Yeah.
Oh, if you have a pistol, it's all you need. Oh, if you have a shotgun, a rifle. Man, we're the best. This is the best. If you do judo, you know everything you need to know. You know what I mean? Like whatever art you're studying, whatever system, whatever weapon system you're studying, it's always the best.
Yeah, of
it's
course.
The solution for everything. If you do this, I shoot you. If you do this, I stab you. Right?
Yeah.
Right? Everything is it's perfect. This is going to answer all your problems. And that's just not true. So, by studying all the different places and different trainers, I can understand the confusion, because it is completely confused since they don't study each other. So the guy with knives doesn't usually study sticks or batons or rifles or shotguns and pistols. So they don't know how they fit together in the first place. Yeah. And since they don't use stuff in real life, there was no impetus to make them do this, right? When there's a problem in real life, a martial artist, a sports fighter, a firearms instructor, they call the police. And then normally the police show up, and normally it's not a problem. Or what happens with most people in Canada, most people in the United States and Mexico, you never have a problem where you have to call the police in the first place. And if you do, it's extremely rare in your life. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you don't really know what really happens, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't either. I learned more because now I'm in the circle of different situations as a private investigator, and then I'm helping people. The one thing I do is I always help people. I like helping people no matter what. If I saw someone getting attacked, I was in on the island of Majorca on spring break, and someone was being bullied. I intervened, and then same thing in Barcelona. There was an attack of a guy. He's an American being attacked by other Americans, and but there was on vacation. We were on spring break, and so I go over there with my vice president. We go over there and we save this guy from getting his brain stomped out. So it's my helping with people and defending people started early on. And so for me, I love the feeling of being there to help someone during their time of need. So I realized that. So I'm looking for all these different avenues to see if this matches what makes me happy, which is helping people. Yeah. And it turns out none of that stuff was appropriate. And for me, breaking bricks and getting trophies was not interesting. I just didn't care. And I did enjoy hurting mean people. I did enjoy that. I love the look of panic and suffering in their face. I really did. I've learned to not like that now. I've given myself therapy, but I did like to see the look of panic and distress in the face of violent people. I love to see them get violent, and I enjoyed it. So I used to bait them by acting extra soft. Yeah. And then when they attacked, I would destroy them. And I loved it. I did. That's wrong, though. And I also say this, that's wrong to do. So
when was the initial inception of Detroit Dust?
Well, Detroit Dust is recent. That's my pure school. So I started teaching self-defense and survival tactics in 1994 in Detroit and in parks. So I was just teaching in parks. Yeah. I had no money. I was teaching in parks. and I was teaching at the YMCA, and I was encountering people that would say, "Oh, I don't think that works," and then the techniques would be tested right there in the street, right in the park, openly. People would just come up, and so it was a great experience that way to see techniques, be defeated, and then you win by changing them, right? And that's before I started what happened later. And what happened was I transitioned from this would be a great business where you have a school that teaches how to defend yourself and how to use weapons legally, to a school that's oriented just for the purpose of training people to protect themselves against violent people. And what I mean by that is I experienced something. I was in Michigan, in Detroit, when a woman was taken out of her car in front of her daughter, and she was stripped of her clothing in front of a crowd of people on the bridge called the Belle Isle Bridge, which connects the largest U.S. island to a city. And that island's called Belle Isle, and that's between Windsor and Detroit. So this 1 mile, it's about a half-mile bridge. It's about like quarter-mile bridge. The traffic is stuck because that's what happened every weekend.
Yeah.
The kids would cluster and play loud music, and then you'd be stuck on the bridge. So these men pulled this mother out of the car, stripped her clothes. The crowd was cheering. They said that CNN reported said that the crowd was cheering, that they were cheering, kill that bitch and something else, and kill her, kill her, kill her. And I didn't believe that. And what I did know is that she jumped off the bridge to try to save herself from these men. And when she jumped off that bridge, 2 other men tried to jump off to save her, but nobody was willing to step forward to these men who had crowbars. These are big men. And nobody stepped forward to rescue this woman in front of her daughter. So her daughter watched her die on this bridge. And for me, that changed me from that day forward. I believed that if I had been on that bridge, or if I had trained people that could have been on that bridge, they could have protected this woman, and her daughter would not have seen her mother chased off a bridge and die in front of her. So that event made me want to just teach people how to survive and not worry about money, not even think about money. For me, that became my new mission. So on the east side of Detroit, I started a school by talking to a building owner. The building I lived in was owned by a very wealthy man, and I lived in a 17-story building. There were 10 buildings around 1 square block. This particular community was called Crack Alley. And I lived on the big street, which is called East Jefferson, 6-lane road, 6-lane city road, right? And it's usually full of traffic. It's middle-class building, but all around the buildings around there are low class, low financially, people that are either on welfare or they are financially struggling. 90% of the people there are just families trying to work their way out of a lower income life to a higher level income life. 10% are violent criminals.
So which is a high percent.
Well, yeah, I mean, in general,
10%, yeah, that number is a high percent in a small demographic area, right? But
right, it's about 500 dwellings. And so what I did was I talked to the building owner and said, you know what, let me get a deal with you where I get a free school, 1 free apartment in each building for people that are going to be trained as security for your buildings, and we can stop these home invasions and murders. This 1 square block had home invasions every day, robberies every day, armed robberies, home invasions, and a murder every month.
What year was this in? Was this still 94?
94, 95.
Yeah.
So I went to the building owner. He said, no, thank you, not interested, because I'm not making any money. Why would I believe that you can do something the police department can't do for me? I've owned these buildings since the 60s. I'm not making any money. Why would I invest in more lights, better doors, better locks when these people, are not worth it to me? There's no money. I'm literally, rich, but I'm not making any money. Yeah. So I said, well, they're paying you. It's hundreds of families. You're talking about, 500 dwellings, and these people are suffering. Yeah. And he says he's financially suffering. So I said, you know what? Let me find another way. He basically told me no, it's not going to help the family that's there, because he doesn't believe that anything I do could help. I said, well, you know what? Let me do this. I went to the manager And I said, I didn't actually ask her. I was just saying, like, what is the problem with this guy? Why would he not want to make the family safer? I don't understand. She goes, well, he's losing money. In fact, last time someone got murdered, $70,000 a month was gone. I was like, wow, $70,000 a month? He's like, yeah. She said, yeah. So I went back to him. I said, listen, I understand you lost $70,000 last month. He said, yeah, they've moved out. People just moved out and took off and that girl got murdered. I said, listen, give me a free school, free apartment for me to live in. Let me get a free apartment in each building. There's 10 buildings. Yeah. I will find and recruit and train people from the neighborhood that will protect the buildings so you can have safe buildings, and give me $2,000 a month so I don't starve to death. And he said, well, you know what? I'll give you 6 months. I'll try it. He said, what is it you can do though? What do you think you can do that the Detroit Police Department can't do? And I said, you know what? Wait, no, that's a good point. What can I do? I was like, well, you know what I can do? Legally, I can have the right to enforce rules, laws on the people that are in these buildings that are raping, robbing, and killing the families. I can legally control and constrict traffic, and I can die trying if need be. So, and for me personally, as a warrior, it's a good death. It's a good death to die giving your life away, knowing that you're stopping violent people from killing others. So for me, I thought this was my destiny. I was like, well, I'm from College Town.
Yeah.
I'm now on the east side of Detroit. The chance of me surviving this is about negative 100%. There's no way someone from Ann Arbor, Michigan is going to come to Detroit and not get killed messing with gang members. It's just not going to happen. So
let me ask you a question this time. Sorry to interrupt your train of thought there. What does your mom say at this point? Like, you came from this doctor, hospital, medical background, and now she's seeing your son in essentially in the hood trying to save the world. Like, what's her mindset with that?
You should go to college and stop this foolishness before you get killed. And that was the theme.
Yeah.
You're going to get killed. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? You got to stop it. What are you doing? This is not going to work. Whatever you're doing, you got to stop it. These Negroes will kill you. I was like, Mom, I'm a warrior. And this is what I'm supposed to do. She's like, shut up. God, go to work, go to school, get a job. I was like, Mom, this is my job. She's like, bullshit. You're not doing another wasting time. Those are poor people. They're poor people. They're not worth nothing. I was like, Mom, that's not true. So, so Mom did not believe at all in the mission of keeping people alive on the east side of Detroit. In fact, my great-grandfather was murdered and in the hospital, in the building, one of the buildings he owned. So the entrepreneurial spirit was obviously from my great-grandfather. Yeah. My great-grandfather owned a church, a bank, a hotel, a movie theater, and a bowling alley.
So you came from a lineage of entrepreneurs, huh?
Yes, I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
But found out later that my great-grandfather was definitely an entrepreneur. And then the first thing he owned was a hospital. And the reason why my family, like all the families that are African-American, came to places like Michigan from the South, because we're all from the South, every one of us, 100% from the South. And so down there, my great-grandmother and great-grandfather were told by the KKK that they have to leave Alabama or die tomorrow, because they're not going to be able to operate a hospital. They're not going to have a married couple owning a hospital in Alabama that's African-American, period. So you have till tomorrow. You can either leave or die tomorrow, right here where you are. So they got their stuff and got out of there, came to Michigan and started the first privately owned African-American hospital. My great-grandmother became the first African-American female physician licensed in the state of Michigan. And she looked like a German woman, which is how it happened, by the way. Yeah. My grandfather was kidnapped and ransomed when he was 12 years old. And when my great-grandfather paid the ransom and got him back, not long after that, he had an employee that he had sewn his hand on. The employee was a wounded, injured person, came to the hospital. Back then, you didn't have insurance. You would pay for things like with chickens, or if you had some money, or
barter.
Yeah, barter, pay for your medical bills. Yeah. And so he said, well, I have a building. You can manage the building in exchange for, your hand being sewn back on. So my great grandfather sewed his hand back on, and it worked. And then the guy apparently at some point decided he wasn't going to continue working. He just wants to live in my great grandfather's apartment building. So my great grandfather said, well, no, you have to leave. And if you don't, I'm taking your door off the hinges. And so he went to go take the door off the hinges, and right in front of my grandfather, who just got ransomed, who just recently, survived being ransomed by some criminals. He watched as the man came down with a knife and stabbed him through his back into his lungs and killed my great grandfather right in front of him. So the violence is part of American society in general. But when you're doing well economically, you are targeted by people that want to take from you the things you have, and of course your life. Yeah, and that's common. And so my family's, I did live through all those things. What I thought was interesting is, the one thing that I bring to the table, with my training and my system, is that we can stop these kinds of deaths. Not just in my family, but in other families. And that was my idea when I first started, that I could actually stop people from being home invaded and murdered. At least I thought I could, right? Yeah. And then I thought I would probably be dead, though. I mean, because there's gangs. What was one person with a rifle and a dog going to do with a bunch of guys that are killers around here? So I thought I was going to die. I was pretty sure there's no way I was not going to die. I just wanted to make sure that before I was killed, that I would have the opportunity to die killing those that are killing the families. So imagine if I believe this, that if I would have killed one person that was killing me or killing others, that person, that violent criminal would not be able to go kill other families. So I have just removed rape, robbery, murder from a bunch of families from this one perpetrator. So that's what I was really excited about, that opportunity as a warrior, that I was going to be able to give my life to stop threats, actual impending threats that are going to be killing families. So I was always eager, like, okay, this is my guy. He's going to try to kill me and I'm going to die probably. But guess what? I'm going to at least take one of these guys out. And what I found out was that I was wrong. Clearly, I'm here talking to you. That was a daily conversation in 1995, because I was pretty sure from watching all those movies that you're going to be killed if you go to Detroit. Also, the news media reporting biasly all these stories from the city made me believe that if you go to the city, you just get killed. I mean, you die in the city. You don't die anywhere else. But if you live in the city, you just get killed. So here I am going into the worst neighborhood. The police called it crack alley. The people called it crack alley. And I'm going to go there and protect people from violent people. And I thought that's insane. I mean, I thought, it's not it's not a good business concept, that's for sure. That's why I get offended when people say, oh, you started your business with the East Side with poor people. That doesn't even make sense. How are you going to make a business in a horrible place where there's no money? So it wasn't business. It was making a difference. It was about doing for others what you'd want to do for you. What if my mother wasn't a doctor? What if I was one of these little kids growing up and my mom was trying to struggle, go to college, go to school, go to work, and have a better life for me, and I'm a little boy? And that's what was happening. They're being terrorized. The families, the kids are being terrorized. 90% of the people are living in terror on a daily basis. Senior citizens, single moms, whole families, all being terrorized by this small group of violent people.
How long were you in those complexes, those 10 buildings, and what was the change?
5 years. First of all, I got 6 months. He said, you got 6 months.
Yeah. I
was like, 6 months. Great. I'll probably be dead before that. Not a problem. So this is a good deal, but I probably won't see the end of it. Right. And so what I did was I went to volunteers literally in the area, anywhere I can get them. And I said, look, I get you a free apartment. And these apartments like $750 a month back then. They're actually not, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, but they're not being taken care of. The maintenance is not correct. They're painting over light switches. I mean, the actual building is nice, but they're not being taken care of properly.
They're not maintained. Yeah.
There's no money, right, to do that with. And that's also a circle, right? So if you don't get good people in, you don't take care of them, they move out. People get murdered, have a job, they're leaving. They're not going to stay in this building with dead people, right? People getting murdered. So what I did was I got the volunteers, I trained them in my school, and we were able to back each other up. So I got volunteers to go in each building, and then I got my school, and you train at my school. I train you to defend yourself, and we respond whenever gangs come in the buildings or whenever they try to home invade people. We call police always first, right?
Yeah.
And when we respond, we don't take an action unless there's exigent circumstances dealing with violence. So we don't, we're not, in day one, I was never vigilante. What I believed in was protection for the families. So if the police got there before us, we back up the police. The chance of the police getting there before us is almost impossible. But if we see police in the neighborhood, we go protect them as they do their job and help them. If they need our help, we help the police. But most situations we came across were extreme violence back then. We're already there. We're living in the building. The police are at least 30 to 45 minutes, possibly an hour away. Okay. That means it's you stopping the carjacker. It's you dealing with the gang that's trying to abduct the lady or steal the children or domestic violence, going to kill the child, kill the mother. You have to deal with this. And I was very proud to see that you can actually stop these horrible events and you can intervene. You can create peace. And I also developed an entire psychological understanding of how to manage human threat conditions psychologically, because now that I'm in them, it changed me, right? So I thought of things very physical, but human behaviors, the performance, all human behavior and human performance is based on psychology.
Yeah, mental.
Belief systems. So if you can understand how people think, you can create positive or negative outcomes. You can create what you're looking for. And no matter what you're looking at, if you want humans to perform something, you have to understand them psychologically. So my psychological system, which is now the foundation of everything, came from actually having to manage human threat conditions in real time. Remember, I'm responsible and accountable for outcome. And your outcome and your income are always related when you're in a performance environment.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the free market. I don't work for the state, for the government. I don't work against them, obviously, but they work with us whenever they can. But I work privately for private people that will only pay me money if they are happy with outcome. And that means outcome has to be positive. That means I can't go around violating people's rights. My team members can't do inappropriate things to people. Lawsuits destroy the purpose of a business. So you can't have lawsuits. You can't do things that create a negative outcome. So imagine a system that is used, that learned how to do that, and now it's being taught to others. So that's what I've been doing the whole time. But now the whole focus is on how do we take what we learned, stopping the murder, stopping the home invasions, and then deliver that as a deliverable in a package where regular people can benefit from this. And that's what D.U.S.T is about. And so I stopped all the home invasions and murders. I caught some home invaders the first month. That stopped the other ones from believing they can home invade. And I stopped the prostitution and other things that were interfering with the quality of life of people. And so prostitution was not the problem. It was the way that they were doing it in the United States. Here, what they were doing is they had traffic. So imagine you're a family living in a building, and outside from 1 o'clock in the morning till 6 in the morning, there's a line of taxi cabs sitting in front of your building, like it's an airport. You can't sleep with all these cars, car doors shutting, people screaming and arguing or something, and just making quality of life hard for the families. So I didn't care about, the prostitution aspect. That's none of my business. I didn't care about drugs or drug dealing. I never got caught up in any of that. Everything we focused on was quality of life. So if you're a drug dealer, I don't know if you're a drug dealer. We don't know if you're not having traffic that interferes with the quality of life of the people. Yeah. So you can deal drugs on it. It's your business to you and the police. But what you can't do is have traffic coming out of these doors, arguing and fighting and home invasions. None of that's going to happen. And so as a result, we were able to create a peaceful place where people could live, know that they're not going to get robbed, know they're not going to be home invaded. And as a result, the property value increased. And this is what I learned overall that makes this viable for everywhere, Canada, everywhere. Yeah. If we protect the regular people, if we protect them, that means preventing them from being raped, robbed, and killed. That does not mean prosecuting those that did. So people are getting mad at police for no reason. Law enforcement is law enforcement. You can't enforce laws that have not been broken. Yeah. At least you're not supposed to be, right? Yeah. That's when you're making up stuff. So after rape, robbery, and murder, the police come and enforce laws. Yeah. Well, what you want, if you want property value to ascend, if you want quality of life to ascend, if you want people to be happy, you have to make sure they're not raped, robbed, and killed.
Sounds simple. Sounds simple.
Right. Think about it. How do you feel if someone caught the people that raped, robbed, and killed your family 100% of the time? I mean, 100%. They caught them every time. Yeah. Well, in the private sector, you're fired after you're a suspect. So after they clear you of being a suspect, you're still getting fired. No one's going to pay you if the people that you're supposed to be protecting are still getting raped, robbed, and killed.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So yeah, they don't care if you get killed. They say they're not paying you if you're dead, and they're not paying you if, in fact, the families are still suffering. So we got rid of all, rescued some people. We were in a lot of force-on-force conflicts and shootouts. Got shot at quite a bit. My vehicles got shot up. At the end of the day, what we're able to do, though, is make a great place for people to live. So the violent criminals focused on us. Then we focused on protecting families. The violent criminals simply moved away from the area.
Created a proof of concept, right?
Correct. And that the concept to me was that you could die for a good cause.
Yeah.
But it changed to predators are cowards. They don't have a belief system. All predators are cowards.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to defeat them. All they have to know is you're serious. Your level of commitment is higher than their level of predatory investment.
That's interesting. I love the way you said that.
So I did not know that, though. I thought, criminals like these, I don't know. I thought they were hardcore, like these super violent people, super predators. They go, they find you, they go and attack you. And like I watched Charles Bronson, Death Wish 1.
Death Wish.
I thought it was real. Apparently, I must have thought that was real.
I grew up watching that with my dad.
Yes, no one's going to paint their face to be in a gang. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So they were wrong there. And and in real life, they're just cowards.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't want pain and suffering. And I was there for pain and suffering and death. Remember, I already made my decision.
Yeah.
So we're talking about two different languages. I'm coming there for one thing. I'm willing to die and kill for these families. And these violent criminals are manipulators. They are not here to die and kill. They're here to kill if it's an opportunity. And they're not willing to die under any conditions. They're not interested in that at all. The purpose of crime and violence is to gain something, to gain a feeling of superiority, to gain a feeling of significance when you felt none before, to feel power and control, to feel as though the pain that you've had in your life, you now have shared it with others, to feel significant when other people when society made you feel insignificant. This gun to someone's head when they're crying for their life makes the criminal feel very empowered. And so what I did was let them know that when you do that anywhere around here, around these families, there's going to be a significant response, and it's going to be immediate. And there's someone here that is willing to die for these poor people, these families, the senior citizens. Someone will come. They'll come now, and they will die if necessary to stop you. And once they knew that, you would think the violent criminals would be like, all right, like in Charles Bronson movies, all right, we're going to get together. We're going to take this guy on. Nope.
They're gone.
They were like, hey, this guy's crazy. Let's get out of here. Right? And that's true, man. I was totally dedicated to the families. I didn't care when they shot my vehicle up. I didn't care about any of that. And as a result of my lack of self-preservation concern, the violent criminals realized the best thing for them to do is to stay away from me. And they did. They just got away from that. So I can say is that I also use a lot of psychology to make that happen. So instead of physicality, I learned to use psychology. And we did one of the things we did that was amazing is I have a video where I have a baton, I have a video camera sticking out of like a plain van, and we pull up these guys in the corner, 8 drug dealers. 2 of them step forward to resist the demand that they get off the block. I basically made a demand they need to leave the area. And this is very close to where the mayor lives. It's on East Jefferson, across from Jeffersonian, which is a upscale place, upscale area. But where they were terrorizing the people going to the laundromat across the street. It's kind of rough from this really upscale area. Yeah. And the families are suffering just because these guys are on this corner. And I guess they've been doing it since the 60s. And now this is 1995. And I'm telling them they have to leave. So 2 guys come off the corner. One guy looks like The Rock with an afro. So imagine The Rock with an afro, right? And he is, 6'5", 6'6". He is 6'6", and looks like The Rock. Comes off the sidewalk after I said on a PA system, like a handheld PA. I said, no drug dealing allowed. Get off, leave the area. No trespassing, no drug dealing. I'm yelling through PA system, and there's families around, people around, and 6 of the drug dealers backed up Two of them got off the sidewalk, came towards me and the other guy who had with me. And the other guy had braids. The other African-American guy that was with this big Afro guy. And what you see in the video is I come forward with this stick that's covered in foam. I smash it across his shin. It breaks. And he lifts me up like off the ground. It's so big that he lifts me up. My legs fly up. I take the baton across his skull, bring him down, choke him, take him across the street, take him away in the van. And you can hear him screaming and kicking the van, him and the other guy. So both these guys are gone off the block. The other 6 guys run away. To this very day, if you go back to that corner, there are no thugs on that corner. None. And the next day I had a meeting because the store owner was surprised that someone was attacking these gang members or these drug dealers. And they were, the store owner, was, I don't know, I think he was working with those drug dealers. That's what I think was happening. And so he called the owners of the buildings. This is on the public street.
Yeah.
Called the building. He called the building owners to tell them what happened. The building owners flew in from Florida, and one came in from Troy, Michigan, like a wealthy suburb. They came in. I showed them the video, and then they said, "My God, you can't do that. That's completely illegal. The liability is we have to fire you right now." I was like, "Wait, you think I filmed myself doing something illegal?" He said, "We saw you. You abducted these guys. You took them away. That's not legal." I said, "First of all, I wouldn't do anything illegal. That's number one. Number two, I wouldn't film it. And number three, I wouldn't show it to you." They were like, "I don't understand." I said, "Those 2 guys worked for me. The one with the afro is an employee. The next day he had his hair cut. So he looked like The Rock with an afro. The next day he came in, him and the other guy, and it's actually this guy that's 6'6" was a lineman for Wayne State University. And the next day he cut his hair off and came in and showed up in uniform. The other guy worked for the U.S. Postal Office, and he had braids. He cut his braids off and came in uniform, into my uniform the next day. And back then we were just protecting communities. These guys were both volunteering to be a part just to protect the community. And when they in exchange for your volunteering, I would train you, right? So you train gun disarms, knife disarms. And this is 1995.
Yeah.
And so these guys came in with the afro and the long hair. I said, "Well, you guys have to cut your hair." And they said, "Okay, well, all right. I've been growing this hair a long time." I said, "Man, you'll love it. We tactics, and we got some jobs coming up too. So it's lots of there will be economic opportunities as well. We don't have any right now, but you're more than welcome to join and help protect the community." They said, "Yeah, you know what? We'll do it. We need to help the community, right?" So I said, one thing I want you to do before we do that, could you guys go out today and do the skit with us?" They're like, "What?" I said, "All right, just go out there, pull up. We're gonna give you some money, and you just count the money, like you put our hand in the car and act like you're selling drugs." It was a good show. It was convincing because we would pull up in cars, different cars all day, like 4 hours of the day, and they'd reach inside and pull out money, like getting paid. And those guys are so big, the other drug dealers wouldn't step to them. The other guy was so big that they were scared, right? So the other drug dealers like, normally we would fight over our territory, but that dude's a monster. And it looks like The Rock. So I'm just trying to stay away from that guy. And so it just shows that you didn't have to be violent. The stick I hit him with was a foam stick. I said that. Yeah. The foam stick was like a really light piece of wood. And this guy was here. He didn't feel anything. I smacked him and then I choked him. It's not even choked. He's just, but it worked good. From that day forward, no one ever went to that corner. They believe we actually abducted some drug dealers. We didn't even fist fight them.
I love it. I love it.
It shows you the psychology was way more important than physicality. Now we solved the problem for the entire community. Now the families go to the laundromat. Families can go to the store without being harassed. As a result of all of that, the building owners went into the black for the first time. They started making a profit. The occupancy went from 30% to 50% to 90% to a waiting list.
Wow.
To get in these buildings. Then the people that have the stores, there was a Chinese food restaurant there in the corner, near the corner. There's a liquor store. All of a sudden, they started blowing up. I mean, they have more customers than ever. So everyone's thriving. Every building owner, every business owner is thriving more than ever before. And all you have to do is keep the people safe. And of course, that means you have to have skills.
Yeah.
Without the tactics, without the skill set, without the knowledge of law, without the knowledge of psychology, understanding laws, and having the physical skills, you cannot be a positive. You're going to do something that's not just terrible for your life, but for the lives of others, even though you have good intent. Without the training for that, without the knowledge, you'll destroy yourself. And so, this is what separates our school from any other, is that we're showing the tactics we used to defend ourselves and others for many, many years. So from there, we ended up in a grocery store where they had a problem with senior citizens being attacked. From there, we got nightclubs. Nightclubs was extraordinary violence, 20, 30 men attacking per night for periods of time, gangs attacking us in different parts of the city. And we always dominated because we trained every day for close quarters violence. So that's what you're seeing now is D.U.S.T is a result of all those years of training, but actually using the training in real life. The feedback from knife disarms, gun disarms, force-on-force conflicts with gangs that are larger groups than us. So we almost never had a force-on-force conflict with anyone that had, like, if there's 5 of us there, or if there's 10 of us there, or 20, 30 of us there, the number of the others that would be attacking us would always be double us or more. So there would be, if there's 20 of us, there's 40, 50 of them, 60 of them. They would be attacking us. And then we would have to dominate. Otherwise, we can't eat and we can't come back.
Yeah.
Literally, you will be fired.
Quick question. How is Detroit right now? And why I'm asking, there's been so much documentaries and stuff like that coming from across the border Canada. We see like I've seen a documentary where firefighters, there's so many fires happening in buildings. I don't know if this is still ongoing, that they would just they don't even reply to most of the calls anymore because the amount of fires happening and stuff like that. And there's still sections of Detroit that are really, really down and still haven't had that opportunity to uplift economically.
No. So those are part of the axioms, American axioms. They just, we have a problem with truth in this country.
Interesting.
The War of 1812, where the United States tried to annex Canada, a place called Canada. 9 out of 10 Americans don't even know what that is. We weren't taught that truth. We don't even know that that's what we did. We don't know that the United States tried to annex Canada. Okay, that's part of our history, right? But it's not part of our history. We don't like the truth. So one of those problems we have in Detroit is the idea that there's dystopia. There's no dystopia. There's design for dystopia.
Interesting.
That design is always going to be there as long as there is a problem culturally with people that are successful there. So, for example, you said you heard about fires.
Yeah.
How many marinas did you hear about in Detroit?
You don't.
You didn't hear about any, right?
No.
There are 5 marinas, major marinas, and 6. There's 6 major marinas. One's part of a country club, a boat club, yacht club to be specific, Detroit Yacht Club. And with the exception of Detroit Yacht Club, all of the boating communities, all the marinas, which have hundreds of luxury boats, almost no fishing boats, right? These are luxury boats, are all owned by African Americans. And they're 3rd generation captains. Yeah. These are people with $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, $5 million boats. Yeah. How come we don't hear about that? Yeah. All entire marinas filled with African Americans with luxury boats in Detroit. 3rd generation, 2nd generation, some probably are 4th generation boat captains, right? From their family, great grandfather.
So a lot of this is media driven.
Oh, it's media and business driven. Yeah. So at the end of this, there is not just media, but there's a business side of all of it, and it all stems from narratives. So in our society here in the United States, we want to keep narratives. Yeah. And the narratives are closely guarded. So, we still celebrate Christopher Columbus coming to the United States, which never came here. Kids still in America, still in the United States, and by the way, you can't be American, even if you're from North America, Central America, or South America, because United States people don't believe anyone's American, but people from the United States. So, and Christopher Columbus, it never came to the United States, but he's still considered the founder. Yeah. So we don't like truth here. And so part of that, when you look at the media, remember what they're selling is negativity, because that sells.
Yeah.
And these ideas, they also have business relevance. So you can get cheaper property if you think the area is bad. I mean, that's the other part of it.
Yeah.
So the reality is, for every negative story that you have, there's 100 positive stories.
Yeah.
Okay. The problem is you don't get to hear the 100 positives. So yeah, I learned this the hard way by being here, boots in the ground, that everything I thought was wrong. Everything I thought from the suburbs, looking at Detroit, was completely wrong. I thought these people are so terrible that they are, not working with the police. They refuse to do the right thing to stop the criminality. In fact, I probably believe the people were criminal oriented. I think I believe that most people were leaning towards criminality. I think I believe that from watching the news. I watch the news.
Yeah.
If you're in Ann Arbor, Michigan, the news you're getting negative is never from Ann Arbor. I mean, why do we even have a police department? Because nothing ever happens there, which is not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. All right. These are narratives. That's like thinking that people in Windsor don't have guns.
Yeah.
And yes, I thought that. So I sent 20 men from the United States to protect an event called Sports Weekend in Windsor.
Yeah.
Sports Weekend, these guys from Canada did not tell me. They came to my place in the United States, asked if we work and volunteer.
Yeah, okay.
For sure we didn't get paid. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So to volunteer in Canada, to help with this project. And I sent 20 men. Of those 20 men, 5 of them were from the United States. 15 of them were Canadian citizens. Canadian citizens used to come across to Detroit every day.
Yeah.
By the way, they were on time. Canadians were always on time. And
always,
they fight.
Always,
Canadians
always
fight just because.
Saying sorry. Would they say sorry a lot?
Sorry.
Sorry.
No, the Canadians I got were like hardcore, tough, and they would fight when it's time to fight. They weren't talking. A lot of Americans like to talk a lot about fighting. The Canadians like, oh, we're fighting, eh?
Hey.
It's just great punch, bang, right there. The Canadians, they call themselves the Canadian assault team. That was not how they called them. They call themselves on our team. So
yeah,
I grew from a dog and a rifle to over 100 people a day deploying from my school within a year and a half. So
wow.
Right. That was very rapid growth.
Yeah.
And so we would be found in Canada, of course, volunteering.
Yeah.
And at places that would start opening at 12 midnight and wouldn't close till 6.
Yeah.
And other places were like the Sports Weekend. Apparently Sports Weekend catered to Toronto people.
Okay.
And all the people I sent were from Windsor. So apparently there's Jamaicans in Toronto.
Yeah.
I did not know that this Sports Weekend was mainly a place where a lot of Jamaicans came from Toronto down to Windsor to this big event.
Interesting. Okay.
I also didn't know they had guns.
Interesting.
We found out that they're Jamaicans. They come from Toronto to Windsor and they bring guns.
What is the Sports Weekend? What kind of event is this?
They call it the Sports Weekend. It was like a big party for the weekend in Windsor.
Oh, it's just a party. Okay. When you said Sports Weekend, I thought it was like a sporting event, or was it like a...
That's what I thought it was. They called it Sports Weekend. And it was, they should have called it Jamaican or Jamaican Posse Weekend or something. I don't know. But I sent all these non-Jamaican looking people.
Yeah.
All right. I had a bunch of Jamaican looking people. I had a Jamaican. In fact, somebody was on my staff at the time that was Jamaican. I could send him.
Yeah.
They would told me it was Jamaicans. So apparently things went to the left. We didn't get beat down, but the Jamaicans did. I don't have proof they were Jamaicans, but I'll say that people that may have been Jamaican then shot into the building that we were in, and there were bullet holes in the windows.
Oh,
so,
wow.
yes. So that just shows you American axioms. The Canadians don't have guns is not true.
No,
American Canadians don't have guns. I assure you, I know for a fact.
Gun violence has gone up quite a bit here. I mean,
Yes,
you don't
had guns.
you hear, yeah, but it's you hear. I mean, it's a normality now in morning news, like murders with guns. Like it's a regular thing now, and and as a kid growing up, you wouldn't. It's maybe I didn't pay as much attention, but you didn't hear that.
That's
much.
what it really is. You didn't know. They weren't reporting much. A lot of times you don't want to report it because it causes problems to your businesses and property values. So when you think about it, we just didn't know a lot of things.
Yeah.
And when so we ended up actually protecting a person in Canada against a gang. Again, so we don't know these things because they're not, publicized in the United States.
Yeah.
But gangs in Canada, and one of these gangs that rides two-wheel vehicles was indicted for murders. And it was a particular individual, and he had caches of weapons around the Windsor area and some other areas. And this particular woman knew where all of them were. And we protected her in Windsor and in other places. She had to travel in Windsor. We had to go out of Windsor. We had to go up to she had to go to a business situation or like closer to Toronto.
Yeah.
So we had to stay over there. We ended up meeting with RCMP over there, protecting this person, and the SWAT team, Windsor SWAT team, deployed protecting us with this woman as she went to her home because they thought she'd be killed as a witness to this cache of weapons and the guy who was killed over 10 people.
Wow.
She had to testify. So we ended up protecting her over in Windsor. And that was like in 98.
So I'm gonna throw it to another topic here. Dale Brown, what does fatherhood mean to you?
Fatherhood to me is a great thing. It's amazing. It is a way for you to, pass on, great things and things you've learned. It's just great to see kids develop, man, and to see yourself in the children too, to see, how you were when you were a kid. And it's amazing, man. It's amazing to see I love to see the development, the creativity. My daughter's super, super creative and amazing, man. Amazing. Like you see on the videos, she's like 7.
So you have one daughter or more than one child?
I have one daughter and I have a stepson, and my wife is Bosnian and her son, and he's a great young man as well. He's a really good kid, really positive. You see him in some of the videos as well. Yeah, super positive kid, man. I was nowhere near a good kid as him at 17. This kid is like super good kid. Daughter is super creative.
Very, very, very cute.
Man, that by the way, people watching these videos, if you're watching my daughter in there, that's not me. I'm not coaching her. She thought of the whole thing.
That was so cute. I was laughing my head off when I was watching that.
Listen, she's the producer, editor. She designed everything. It's her ideas. And I never told her to get in front of the camera. Like she said, I want to do that. And she choreographs her own stuff. At 6, she started, man. She's 6 years old. She started.
How old is she now?
7. At 6, she started editing. She was correcting during Zoom calls during school. She goes to a school here, a private school, and she was correcting the teacher on how to use the computer for the calls. How to use the different symbols, things like that. She's 6 years old. It's amazing.
I love it.
Isn't it great to see kids being creative, man?
Of course, 100%.
My family's not supportive of creativity at all.
Yeah.
Go to college, go do your work, do some sports or something, and then go to school and then get a job, go to college, get a job. That's all there was. There's no creativity. That's something you do it for fun. Yeah. I'm just the opposite. Me and my wife, we are very committed to our kids being very creative, and we support all their, creative. They want to be creative and do something, which would give me a spanking when I was a kid. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's do that.
I'm the exact way. I've been self-employed for 26 years, and I'm always trying to push any type of creativity out of them. Any type. You put as many options in front of them and see where they turn to, which is so amazing, right?
Isn't that great, man?
Oh, it's beautiful. Beautiful.
I used to get spankies those days. The things that she does for fun, including jumping over the couch or building sword fighting in the living room or kicking a ball. We do play ball in the living room. We do, we do sword fight.
But those are the memories that you're building with her that they're going to be locked in forever, right? Which are so special, so special. So this whole social media, everything you've built, and it's been rapid, rapid growth.
No, that's recent, like the last year.
Yeah. It's been incredible. When you first started, where was your angle with it? How has it kind of just morphed into his own, like, that personality? Is that always you? Are you like that person all the time? Like, where's the separation there between that?
Oh, I'm just me, man. I'm not.
I love it. Okay.
This is me. So people, I think, they don't understand that. That's part of the problem with these guys who are sports fighters and people that are martial artists. They don't understand that I'm. So you guys signed up for something. I get that. I signed up too back in the day. But I'm an adult, and I provide something that's needed, and that is I create situations where people can live instead of die. Yeah. And that for me that's just who I am. Yeah. I like to help people. So this is not what I do on my part-time. It's not my business. I'm actually just being me, and people are paying me to be me.
I love it. I love it.
So the disconnect it's that people think that I started a business. I just do my thing, and then I found a way for both poor people and rich people to benefit, and I just make the rich people pay me.
Yeah, I love it.
Have to pay, and I can still provide for the poor on a much larger scale, so it's larger than me. So it's like
I love it.
Poor version of Batman. Then I created a bat school, and I got these people out rescuing people. I mean, what I really love, man, is that I'm now sharing, for the past 26 years, I got a chance to see not just rescuing people, not just me rescuing people, but watch my team members rescue people. I mean, these are things that would have killed people that, you actually stop the violence. So we saw, at first I told you that a girl was chased off a bridge, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought the media was lying when they said this woman was chased off a bridge and the crowd was cheering, kill that bitch and kill her. I was like, oh, the racist media. It's not true. And what I can tell you now, I can tell you 100%, yes, the crowd will cheer. The beating, torture, and killing.
The herd mentality, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's psychology. And once again, it's psychology. Once you understand psychology, you understand how these things are happening. Yeah. So now I can tell you, because we've stopped these, we've gone into the middle of situations and rescued people's daughters. I disarmed a female that was stabbing another female in the face as she was slashing her face by taking the knife from her hands. So these are situations we've been in when their people are being attacked. So, and then we had a chance to see the families. One guy that came to work for me said that when he was a little boy, that his uncle, so after he was a Marine and went to Afghanistan, he came to work for me. He said, when I was a little boy in elementary school, my uncle came home and said that he was at a nightclub and that he was on his knees in the parking lot and a guy put a gun to his head. He said that Vipers, which is the name of our protective service site, Vipers ran at the guy and the guy took off with the gun and saved my life. That's his uncle. And I mean, I remember because I was on an elevated platform. I remember that exact situation, but you don't think about that someone's family.
No,
right?
Of course not. Yeah.
Gunmen saw my men converging on him and took off running through the crowd. And so that's what we've done for 26 years is remove these rapes, robberies, murders. I caught a rapist pulling a woman across the ground right by the Canadian River by the Border Patrol. He was pulling her across the ground. When I saw her, she got to the fence, her back was bleeding. And as soon as I jumped out of my regular car, I was in like a little two-seater car. I thought I was imagining screaming, but it was real. I just checked the area because I heard some screaming by the river. I just got off duty like 4 o'clock in the morning. Just leaving a nightclub. And I saw this screaming. I heard the screaming, went around the corner. This is right next to the river, man, like maybe 50 yards from the Detroit River between Windsor and Detroit. Yeah. And as soon as I got out, the guy started screaming, no, put his hands in the car, right? No, but you can grab this female and pull her across the ground. Her back's all bloody. But when it comes to fighting right now, right? Yeah. You want to give up, put your hands in the car. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's amazing. They're cowards. So when you bring them, they can tell you're serious. He can look at my face and say I was serious. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. He can see me running straight at him. Yeah. And he just realized that I'm not a girl. I'm not a woman. He's not going to be able to manhandle me like that. Yeah. And as a result, he would rather give up. And, police took him away and conversion situation. But I got there about 10 minutes before the police got there. But the bottom line is, now I can tell you from being in all these situations, drive-bys and shootings and stabbing situations, you can be the difference. Every single person can be that person that is needed. You don't need a bunch of skills either. So this concept, you got to go through a million hours of training, that's bullshit. There are women and children and men, police officers and civilians, regular people, senior citizens that are disarming guns, disarming knives right now with no training.
Yeah.
No training. And unfortunately, there have been police officers disarmed by people with no training, including in the United States, just in the past 2 weeks, there have been police officers murdered with their gun by unarmed people. So that's why we teach police officers weapon retention.
I'm gonna ask you a few more quick questions. One of them, because you brought that up, and because I have so many close friends that are officers. Where's your mindset? Because we could talk about this all day, I'm sure, but when you talk about police officers, I don't know how it is in the US, but I know in Canada, they go through 6 months of very basic training, very, very basic training. And then they put on the streets and they're asked to put in situations where they're not able to handle it. Where's your mindset? Like, why hasn't, and they're trying to defund police instead of putting more money for more training, which should be the pure opposite.
Right.
How what's going to change this? What has to happen, or before they turn around and say, okay, you know what? Every 6 months you got to go through 4 weeks of training. Like, there's got to be some type of regulation. What's going to change this?
Well, you don't have to do much changing to make the changes that are necessary. You just
but who's going to do
follow
it?
the structure. And the reality is this: what you said was correct.
Yeah.
You can't properly be prepared in 6 months for almost anything.
No, 6 months,
right?
6 weeks. They're going through police academy for like 6 weeks. They're police.
6 months in the United States. I'm sure.
Oh, Canada is like they're going through physically. It's not 6 months. It's like 6 weeks. It's shorter, buddy.
Sure.
Yeah,
I guarantee you that Canada would be like most places, 6 months.
Yeah.
And Canadian police are just as professional.
Yeah.
And so the reality is, what you said is also true. You need to enhance the funding, not decrease it.
Yeah.
But first, just keeping it really simple. The police should be retrained as protectors, not retrained, not retooled as financial institutions.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in a lot of places. They try to figure out, how can we use the police to generate more money? That's what people don't understand about defunding.
Yeah.
The police are making more money for their cities than they are receiving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a money maker. That should never be, of course, but that's the problem. That's the core problem, right?
Yeah.
The core problem is that we have created a society, a way for a socialist system, which is police being paid by tax dollars, to be a generating capitalist program.
Yeah. There
should be no way that there should be any correlation between police actions and profitability. Because once you start doing that profit policing, you destroy it. Because what we're supposed to have, at the very least, is law enforcement.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we really want protection, we need to change the entire concept, right?
Yeah.
Because law enforcement is based on prosecution. So the metrics, there's no such thing as positive metrics for law enforcement in any country.
I love that. Yeah.
There's no positive metrics.
Yeah.
So a lady said to me one day when I was driving by in her neighborhood, her wealthy neighborhood, she said, "Y'all don't do nothing." I said, "Ma'am, what do you mean?" She goes, "You just drive around." I said, "Ma'am, in the past 4 years," this is about 6 years ago, I said, "Ma'am, in the past 4 years, we've been in your community, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Have you, in the 400 homes in your community, seen or heard of anyone being raped, robbed, or murdered here in the inner city of Detroit near 7 Mile?" She said, "Oh, I never thought of it like that." "Oh, no one's no, it's not since you guys have been here." "That's correct, ma'am, because we stopped the rape, robbery, murder. That's why you don't have it." I said, "But remember the other day, the police were outside here right on the street.
Yeah.
They had all blocked off the other morning, 9 a.m. She goes, "Oh yeah, it's like 5 cars out here." "That's because 2 blocks from you, in this other neighborhood that we don't work in, there was a man coming out of his house at 9 o'clock in the morning who was shot 15 times and murdered." I said, "Did you heard about the judge?" This is when this federal judge got shot.
Yeah.
Right across the street from our protected community and right next to another one. We don't work in that community. A federal judge was shot as these 3 men were trying to home invade him. And the judge resisted, got shot in his leg, and kept the 3 men out of the house. The 3 young men, then ran away, jumped in the car, and took off. The judge saved himself and his family. They could have gone in there and killed his whole family. So resistance is going to happen. If that judge had been trained by me, that judge would have resisted in such a way that would have decreased the likelihood of him getting shot. And so the police, yes, need actual training. But before we get training, we need PPE.
Yeah.
Or right after we get academy training, we need PPE. Where is the bulletproof helmet that covers the officer's face? There isn't one. I mean, they make them, but they're not using them. How can you send a firefighter into a fire without a helmet that covers his face? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
Why would you send a police officer to gunfire without their face being covered? That makes no sense. Why would you send a firefighter to go fight fires in a family vehicle? You don't. You send them in a fire vehicle. It's actually fire retardant. It's actually made for impact. Yeah. It's a fire fighting vehicle, $1 million vehicle, $500,000, $1 million vehicle.
Yeah.
The police officer gets a family car with a computer.
Yeah.
Why are you sending a person to have interaction under conflict conditions? Other human beings, the apex predator on this planet. Why would you be sending them to remote places? Most cops work by themselves.
Yeah.
85% of cops in the United States work outside of cities. 85% of police do not work in a city. They do not have a partner. They have a car, a family car that goes way too fast, but was designed for family conveyance, not for tactical driving, right? It was not designed for police tactical driving. And that's what they should have. We should have a police vehicle. And yes, Ford and other companies, GM, have all designed specific vehicles that are specifically for law enforcement protection.
Yeah.
They're designed for the protection and transport of the prisoners and everything. They're just not using those vehicles. They're using the commercially available vehicle. And there's some business reasons behind that, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, if we protect the police, we make them safe. We give them the helmets that cover the face. We give them level 3 body armor over their entire body. We train them constantly and consistently.
Which is
we
key.
Create conditions where there are the inability to be involved in inappropriate things. We also, most importantly, need to start their pay at least $100,000 US a year. That's a start. That's a base pay. And then bonuses for all the things you want them to do, like not crash cars, take a drug test, take psych tests, to do all these things. Yeah. Whatever they do, they get a financial bonus for. We're a capitalist society here, and we're very capitalism oriented. Yeah. So you can't go to people that are raised as capitalists and tell them to act socialists. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't do well with that. You're creating corruption that has always been here. So my point is,
I agree with that. I 1,000% agree with that.
Instead of asking people to reevaluate their affinity for money and accolades and having a better quality of life, why don't you just give them a better quality of life, give them the metrics, give them positive metrics. This officer saved this people, he got a bonus for that. This officer stopped this crime, he got a bonus for that. Whatever you want, you bonus for that, right? I don't care what country you're in, Canada, Mexico, the officers only bonuses for what you want. That's what the cartel is doing. That's what the mafia does. They bonus them for what they want. All we do is let us do drugs over here. Here's your bonus, officer. Now the officer can have integrity, or the officer can have a better house for his family.
Yeah.
You're asking the officer to choose between rules and having a better life for their family. My thing is, why don't we remove that? Right. Yeah. And let's make it very difficult. I
1,000% agree with you. And that's a topic for even another day. I mean, I speak to a lot of officers and you hear a lot of stories, and man, it's the corruption. You shouldn't, but it is there because exactly what you're saying. I mean, it's everything you're saying. Built in. That corruption is there. That's like, the car camera should be inside the car and outside the car. Yeah. But we also, before you do any of that, you need to train the officers as protectors. And that's my goal. So one of the things we have is a police training program that links the people and the police together by getting the business community to pay $100 an hour for cops to be trained in our system. $50 goes to the officer and $50 goes to the school. Yeah. So the officer's getting $50 an hour to train in a system. That officer now knows a bunch of techniques that don't injure and kill people while simultaneously making it safer for the officer to dominate and control someone against their will, if need be. Yeah. Infused in it is our psychology, which is how you create a non-adversarial interaction for a non-violent outcome. It's literally the method by which you join, mirror, and placate
with a human to create a positive interaction for a positive outcome.
I love it. I got one more question for you, Dale.
Yes.
We're hitting out an hour and 40 minutes. We could be talking here forever. If something were to happen to you today, in a few words, how would you want to be remembered, described by your loved ones?
A person that was devoted to the community and his family, and making sure that people are alive and safe. That's it. That's my whole, everyone else. I think people don't understand that the money is a byproduct, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I live well. Yes, we have boats. We have all kinds of nice things. We have nothing that was more important than what we do for other people. Yeah. And we volunteer to protect domestic violence victims, stalking victims, crime witnesses. There's no money for that, and you can be killed. The most dangerous things we've ever done is protect domestic violence victims, stalking victims, and that's for no money. Those people are people that are typically senior citizens or families or women with children that have no protection, and they don't have any money anyway. So there's no way to get money from these people, but there is a way to get shot and killed. Yeah. And that's what happens often with police officers when they go to domestic violence situations. And it's happened to some martial artists who tried to go out and protect, doing a nice thing. There's one a jiu-jitsu instructor who was also a champion fighter. He went to help a woman who was being abused, and he was trying to help her move out, and the guy came out and killed him. I'm not sure if he killed the girl, but he definitely killed the guy. This the martial arts master. Yeah. And the point is, with our training, that death did not have to happen. We could have trained him on how our procedures work so he could keep himself safe. That's something we've done for 26 years. I've been doing it before that even. But these are people that are at risk, man. And what we need to do is reevaluate our purpose. The purpose of your training should be to help the world be a better place. And that's what I designed the system for. So that's why I don't call it the Dale Brown system. It's not how to be me. It's how the system can adapt to you so you can go out and help people and help yourself and create a greater quality of life for you and your family, your community. Stop doing things that create righteous violence, right? Righteous violence is still not right just because you can legally shoot people or stab them or beat them up. Doesn't mean you have to. Yeah, of course. Our training, we teach you how to create peace peacefully. And that the only way you can have that confidence, though, is if you have competence. You must know how to disarm guns and knives in order to lose your fear. If you have fear, if you can't lose your fear, if you're not able to manage your fear, you cannot protect yourself or others properly. Yeah. So, and also remember this, man, love is the key. Love. So if you're going to protect anything, if you're going to protect anyone, you have to love the thing you're going to protect. And anything that we love as human beings, that is what we will naturally protect. That's just natural. You don't have to be taught that. Yeah. So what you need in police or civilian protection is people that actually care. So the best cops in Canada, Mexico, Detroit, United States, the best police officers are those officers that really care about people. And we need to be protecting those officers. We need to be promoting those officers. And we need to give extra bonus pay to those officers that are committed to public safety done safely. And that's what my program is for. The schools are going to be a hub for police and civilians to train in Canada, in Mexico, in Uruguay, everywhere in the world. We're going to have these schools. And the point of the school is to unify people and the police both together, training in the same location, training in how not to injure and kill, right? Yeah. So teach people the law so they know how to comply with police. Right now, in the United States, it's a fad to not comply. Yeah. Right. So
no, it's true.
Response to a negative, which is to create conditions for prosecutorial conduct, no matter what. Right. Yeah. And then the opposite is, well, then the people will begin to hate those people. And that's what's been happening for some years in this country. It's not new. It's been a thing. Yeah. My point is this: there's nothing good without the enforcement of laws. Nothing. There's nothing good. You must have law enforcement. It must be done by the state. It cannot be done by a private sector. So libertarians, I don't know if you saw it, if you Googled me, but libertarians, which I like libertarians, I like their concepts. The construct is nice, but you have to understand that doesn't match human behavior. Yeah. Human behavior is what I understand intimately because I'm accountable for it, both within my staff and in the communities we protect, right? Yeah. We protect wealthy people and poor people. But if you don't understand human behavior, you still have ideas, but if you don't study it, if you're not responsible, if you have experience, you're about to make a decision or an idea that is deleterious to your actual outcome. you're going to make it worse. I call it deleterious panacea. Like you're going to hire private sector police, right? They're hire these private cops. Okay, why would private cops be better than governmental cops? It literally makes no sense. It literally can't work, because the point of policing or law enforcement, the point of law, let's be clear about the difference in terms. Protection prevents things from happening that are bad.
Yeah.
Policing is an industry. It's a way of doing things, right? You use prosecution, right? Use law enforcement for the purpose of prosecution.
Yeah.
Law enforcement in and of itself is just simply enforcing laws that have been broken.
Yeah.
The distinctions are very important for those things, because you understand why Secret Service isn't having the problems that other people are having, and they're protecting people around the world. How come the Secret Service hasn't shot anyone? The Secret Service has not shot any person, but they have protected the president of the United States successfully almost every time for many years now.
Yeah.
There's been very low exceptions. All right. Their rate of success is 99.99%. Okay.
Yeah.
So my point is, why are they not accidentally shooting people? Why are they not having the violence? And that's because the Secret Service is tasked with protection.
Yeah. I love that. And a lot of people don't ever have that mindset when you're listening to it. I mean, you're pretty much explaining it to such a detail, right? Because you hear, when you look at an officer, I mean, everything you're saying is so true. They're there to stop it from originally happening, instead of just there having that mindset of where we were there to prosecute it, right?
Right.
So
and then the police, if you can't tell the police, listen, we think you're a good cop if you got a lot of prosecutions.
Yeah.
But then you expect that cop not to go out and create prosecutions.
Yeah. Because there's a mandate. There's a pressure on them to get a certain amount of tickets, to get a certain amount of. Yeah, I agree.
Or accolades. It doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be an official system. It could be you are a great officer if you do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
So example is Detroit. The officer that had the most kills was an officer named Henderson. Officer Henderson in 1925 is when he was hired. He was the first African-American police officer allowed to carry a gun. There were other African-American cops before that, but they couldn't carry guns. Yeah. And this African-American cop killed 30 African-Americans. And he was considered to be the best cop in Detroit until 2019, when the people demanded he be taken out of the police. There's a police award.
Like a Hall of Fame kind of thing?
Yeah, Hall of Fame, correct. He was taken out of the Hall of Fame in 2019, okay? But this African-American police officer from, I think he's from Mobile, Alabama. Yeah. Somewhere. No, he's from Mississippi, that's right. And he's African-American, dark-skinned guy, big guy, violent guy, was, killed 30 African-Americans and killed one Italian gangster, which is also very unusual, because at that time, the African-American cops were not allowed to stop anyone or talk to anyone as a police officer that was not African-American. And he did. He actually killed an Italian gangster at the time, which is, that was also revolutionary. Yeah. He was definitely, obviously, a bad guy. Yeah. So the reality is, hopefully, now we don't have those kind of people, right? That's not a thing anymore. And so we have to create a culture for law enforcement that says, listen, we're going to reward you for all these great things you do, right? Yeah. And those great things are all the things you want your law enforcement community to focus on. And you bonus them, and now they're wealthier, happier people. And when people are wealthier and happier, they tend to do things like make other people happy. Yeah. So we teach civilians how to get along with police officers, not just the law, right? I don't teach, I teach I call it tactical law, but I don't teach the law you see in the book. I teach law based on human behavior. So once you understand human compulsive behavior and psychology, you can make better decisions. When I teach police officers, I started teaching cops back in for the day one. So I started teaching in 1995. Yeah. And so I had a chance to see, and I've employed over 100 police officers, and I have police officers that work for me right now. Yeah. And I have my law enforcement program is actually being run by a police officer that is a federal police officer currently. He was a Detroit cop, and he was in the police academy for almost 10 years. That's where we met, Detroit Police Academy. And he was the only police officer that was a pro fighter. And he also won King of the Cage in California while he was a police officer. Awesome. So, yeah, great guy, family guy, great community guy, great police officer. and he's our lead instructor for police. And so we had he's a jiu-jitsu purple belt, and just a serious jiu-jitsu guy. He goes to jiu-jitsu training right now. He still loves training jiu-jitsu as he's an instructor at our school.
Always improving.
Yes, and always enjoying it. It. What we do in Detroit Urban Survival Training is not sport. You're not going to switch off from BJJ or MMA and come do this. This is survival. So it's gun disarms, knife disarms. You don't even move around a lot. You're not going to get any. You're not going to get any athletic feelings from our training. Everything's done in 3 seconds, 3 movements or less, right? And the people that are doing sports, and then we got guys that are sports fighters. This is not for that. This is to make sure that when you're out there, you understand the laws, so you don't get yourself in trouble. More importantly, it shows you how to use psychology so you can de-escalate someone. Create a condition where you don't have to fight in the first place. And then if you had to fight, how do you read the body language? We call it READ. Recognize evasive, aggressive, deceptive behavior so you can make the best decision to create the most nonviolent outcome. So if you think about what D.U.S.T is, Detroit Urban Survival Training, it's how to not fight. It's how to not kill people. It's an anti-fight and anti-kill system. It's the first school of its kind that teaches people anti-fighting and anti-killing. And so that's good for every community.
I love it. We're going to end it off right there. This has been an awesome conversation. I appreciate your time. I'm sure we're going to have you back on.
Thank you.
I was listening to Snoop, so I'm sure you're going to be on TV a lot sooner than later. So a lot of
Snoop was amazing, man. He didn't believe. He did not believe it. And I don't mind. I like when people don't believe.
I love it.
The look on their face is like. It's like I feel like I'm the David Copperfield or David Blaine of tactics, man.
I love it.
You see the stuff in the street that we do with the basketball players.
Yeah. I love it.
That's like I'm David Blaine out there. I'm doing magic tricks on people. They really, I swear to you, they don't believe the tactics work. And
until you do it,
man. But the look on their face, like I thought it was fake. Ow!
I love it.
People are stopping me everywhere, man.
I know.
I mean, I love it. At gas stations. In Florida, random place in California, be out in the desert. They're stopping me, take selfies, show me some tactics. I've never seen people like pain so much in my life.
I love it, buddy.
With Detroit Pistons tonight. Detroit Pistons keep bringing me out to their games.
I love it.
The kids, the fans, man. I mean, every demographic, old people, young people, from every culture, every ethnic group are coming up. They're so happy. They want to take pictures.
You've put in the work. You've put in the time. Put in the time. It's you know what you always hear that overnight success. There's no such thing as an overnight success.
Right. I'm tired. I'm older. I'm 52. I'm like, oh, we're doing this so long. All of a sudden what's funny? I've been doing this for so long. It's like, really?
But now you're rejuvenated, huh? It's awesome.
I'm trying.
It's awesome. You're doing amazing, brother. You're doing amazing. Thank you, man. You're the best. Thank you for having me. That's a wrap for today. I want to thank our guest, Dale Brown, for taking time on his busy schedule to be a guest on the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast. What a great conversation. If you guys enjoyed it as much as I have, like all weeks, tell your friends, tell your family, help spread the word. We're trying to build something special here. Leave a review. 5 stars would be absolutely amazing. Myself, my team would love spending time reading the reviews. Until next week, guys, keep moving forward.